There,
I'm going to jump in really quick. I think
yes,
a lot of
strawberry
folks here
cheesecake,
are
cranberry,
not
frozen
muted. If
dessert.
you could go ahead and mute yourself. We're going to go through and mute the crowd as well. Sorry about that, Jacqueline. Take it away.
Okay, if you're not familiar, AARP is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering Americans 50 and older to choose how they live as they age and to age with confidence. With a nationwide presence, AARP strengthens communities and advocates for what matters most to more than 100 million Americans 50 and older and their families, including health, financial security, and personal fulfillment. So, Joyce, who is in the audience today? Who do you see in the chat? If you haven't already, please type your first name in the chat and the city you're zooming in from.
Well, I can tell you, Jacqueline, they are coming in not only from California, we have McKinsey, Texas. We have Torrance, California, of course, Los Angeles, California, which is our neighbor. But then we have St. Louis, New Jersey, Los Alamitos, Oakland, California, Las Vegas, Florida, Cincinnati, Sherman, Oregon, Thousand Oaks, San Diego. We even have Josie from New York, Pennsylvania. Just to kind of give you just a heads up, we have people from all over. Back to you, Jacqueline.
Okay. Happy March, and thanks for joining us today. And if you haven't already, please put yourself on mute. Today, we're going to hear from Ryan Kawamoto, Regional Director of Older Adults Technology Service, also known as OATS, from AARP, where he empowers older adults through technology through our Senior Planet. Senior Planet offers assistance to those needing help getting online and provides a large selection of educational, recreational, and social programs for older adults, most of which are free. Ryan is the former executive director of UI-CAI, Japanese American Community Senior Service of San Jose, and is the former chair of the Aging Services Collaborative of Santa Clara County. He is also the co-president of the
Ms. Cole,
Jacqueline, if you can come back off mute, you've been muted. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know why it keeps muting. It's not me. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, he is also the co-president of the Japantown Community Congress of San Jose and a board of directors member for the Asian Pacific Youth Leadership Project. Two fun facts about Ryan. Ryan worked for 2 California State Assembly members where he staffed legislation to generate $40 billion in transportation infrastructure funding for Southern California. Thank you for that, Ryan. Ryan wrote, illustrated, and published a 372-page graphic novel for youth. Thanks for helping us to get to know you a little better, Ryan. Take it away. We're looking forward to your presentation.
Thanks so much, Jacqueline. It's a real pleasure to be here. Good morning and good afternoon to folks that aren't in California and across the country. Again, I'm the Regional Program Manager for Older Adult Technology Services in the Western region, where I help with the operations of our Senior Planet programming in 9 Western states, including California. I'm based out of Oakland, California this morning. I'm really excited to present about our programming. So if you hold on one second, I'll share my screen and we'll jump right in. And so I titled the presentation Senior Planet from ARP, a presentation for ARP California. But really, as advertised, the session is going to be on what is Senior Planet. And I'll have to say, I've worked with Older Adult Technology Services for about 6 years now. And I always get questions on Senior Planet. Is that astronomy related? Where did the name come from? And it really just is meant to be a cool name, a catchy name for our programming related to empowering older adults to use technology. Here we go. And so to start off, Older Adult Technology Services was actually founded in 2004. So we actually just celebrated our 20th anniversary. And it was a standalone nonprofit based out of Brooklyn, New York. Our executive director, Tom Camber, was working closely with older adults where he discovered a real need for his friends, his neighbors, who are all older adults, to use technology. And at the moment, it was a question of, well, for a lot of his friends, where are they supposed to learn this information? And that became the impetus for Older Adult Technology Services. Over the years, we've grown across the country, and I'll talk about that in a second. But in 2021, we actually became a charitable affiliate of AARP, which means that as a nonprofit, we became an entity related to AARP. So I'm actually an AARP employee, which I have to say has been a dream come true, where I feel like I get to work with a smaller nonprofit providing programming locally and then across the country, but then also having the support of AARP and the wonderful volunteers that we have us with today and the staff of AARP. It's been really wonderful. And so this gives you kind of a puzzle piece or puzzle to show OATS as a puzzle piece within a larger puzzle. So you have AARP, you have AARP Services, you have AARP the Foundation. I should mention too that part of this affiliation meant that AARP actually did a review of 3,000 nonprofit organizations of the country. And looking at where they wanted to provide support and services to older adults in the future, that's where they identified Older Adult Technology Services and Wish of a Lifetime and a legal organization to affiliate with. And so this is where we felt really honored and also just excited about the prospect of AARP focusing on older adults needing to use technology in the future too. So this is actually a picture from our Senior Planet flagship center. It's a standalone space in Manhattan, New York, so you can kind of see the scaffolding outside. But this is, you can see one of our learning rooms. We've actually just moved our center in New York. It's still in Manhattan, but it'll be very similar with tables, screens, and our in-person instructors providing programming and support. So some key facts about Older Adult Technology Services. We are a 501c3 since 2004. And I should mention too that while we have AARP as our umbrella organization, then you have Older Adult Technology Services as one piece of AARP. And our executive director, Tom Camber, says that OATS is kind of like Coca-Cola, meaning that that's our main brand, but within that we offer multiple services and support systems. He is an academic, so we do a lot of research and we actually have a lot of reports and information specifically about older adults and technology, but really our main interface and our main programming is our Senior Planet program. And so this is where if you want to log into and participate in our programming, a lot of people might not even be aware of oats. But I like to say I like the name oats because it's good for you. It's fibrous. I just actually had oats for breakfast this morning. But really our main interface and our programming is our Senior Planet programming. Within that, we are an impact model, meaning that we do really focus on skill building, and we are a social justice organization, meaning that we really try to combat ageism, and we really believe in empowerment of older adults to enhance their lives through the use of technology. I'll talk about this in a second, but we have 3 main program channels within our programming. We have our in-person programming, which is in limited geographies across the country. We have our virtual programming, which I'll encourage to use today. It's on our website, seniorplanet.org. Again, all this programming is for free. And then within that virtual programming, you also find some virtual support. On our website, you'll be able to find a link where you can actually get free one-on-one tech support. And if there's any takeaway from today's session, it's our toll-free national hotline where you can call and talk to a live staff person for tech support. So let's say you're on your iPhone and you get an alert saying that there's a new operating system, or you're having trouble using the camera. Know that you can call this hotline and they'll be able to provide support. And then, as I mentioned before, we are an AARP charitable affiliate, which means, again, I'm an AARP employee. So really what we're focusing on is closing the digital divide. As I mentioned, we've done some research, and so we've actually did a report in 2020 and 2021 where we found that 22 million older adults were lacking wireline broadband access at home. This meant Medicaid enrollees are 2.7 times more likely to be offline, and Black and Latino seniors are more than 2.5 and 3.3 times more likely, respectively, to be offline. So for us, our hope is to empower older adults to be online, and this is, again, where we can provide that support over either our tech tutoring or our national toll-free hotline. But then once you are online, what does that mean? And for us, there's a real urgency because I liken it to getting a new car. When you get a car, you get a driver's license to learn the safety protocols, to learn, the different protocols related to stoplights, how to make a right-hand turn correctly, all of that. This is where I liken that to technology. When you get an iPad, when you get internet, there's certain rules that we can, and protocols to help provide each of you so that you can stay safe online and avoid scams, avoid fraud, avoid malware. And this is where we're really hoping to empower you to be safe online, but also to use being online as an enhancement to your life. So this is actually a picture out of our Denver, Colorado center. We actually took over a hangar space in their hangar district. So it's actually an airplane hangar that we turned into a coffee bar / learning space. And our tagline for Senior Planet is aging with attitude. We really believe in that. We really believe that if you use technology, it can enhance your life. You can age with empowerment, and you can really make a difference for yourself. So on that note, as I mentioned, our program channels, we have our centers. So we have 3 physical locations. One is in New York, in Manhattan. I should also mention too, we took over a retail space in a mall in upstate New York because we're really looking to where older adults are congregating. And so it's a Senior Planet space, but it's actually, in a shopping mall. We have a center in Colorado, as I mentioned, and we just opened up a center in Miami, Florida last year. So if you happen to be traveling and you want to stop by one of our in-person locations, know that you can find all this information on our website and actually go in to meet with our staff in person and to take actual free classes and sessions in person. I also just want to mention that, for example, if you're in an area that I didn't mention, but you know of a local older adult community center that is providing support or services, and they might be interested in offering digital literacy programming, know that you can actually have them enroll into our Senior Planet licensing program, where we actually offer all of our curriculum. We have over 400 different sessions, different topics in multiple languages for free for the staff to use. We also provide ongoing support and training. So for example, we are in the process of releasing 8 new Explore Tech lectures, meaning sessions on artificial intelligence. And what I say is that, as a former executive director of an older adult community center, in order to build this curriculum, it takes a lot of time. And let's say Apple, for example, decides to change their operating systems overnight. You might have spent a whole week, a year, 2 years on the curriculum on a book. It can become obsolete overnight. And so this is where, with our curriculum team based out of New York, we can provide real-time updated information and provide that training across the country. And this is where we've been working really closely with our ARP state offices. So ARP California has been a wonderful support system and an ally in rolling out our programming across the country. On that note, if you are looking for an in-person site, if you visit seniorplanet.org/map, you'll find a website where you can actually type in your address, and it'll pull up all the local locations close to you that are our licensed partner sites. And if you're finding that a site isn't close to you, but you know of a site that might be interested or could take advantage of our programming, please feel free to send them this link, and they can then see further information about our programming and actually apply. We do request that only organizations apply and that they fill out a quick application. And the application isn't meant to weed people out. It's meant to say that we just want to make sure you're fully supported in delivering our programming. And then the final channel is our online virtual programming that I mentioned before, which is at seniorplanet.org. So if there's any website to remember today, it's seniorplanet.org. And please know that our national toll-free hotline is always listed at the top. In addition, there'll be some drop-down menus where you can click on online classes, and that will open up all of our sessions that you can then either register for or just log into immediately. All of our sessions are over Zoom, just like today's session, because we want to make sure it's accessible and free for everyone to access our programming. So as I mentioned, yeah, we have three, or actually four of our Senior Planet centers. The left picture is actually our Miami site. The middle picture is our Manhattan site that we just moved. And then the far right-hand picture is our site in Denver. So within our programming, and this covers both our in-person programming and our impact areas, we have 5 impact areas, and I'd actually say there's actually a 6th one that I'll go over. First is our health and wellness sessions, and that's everything from, especially during the pandemic, where we're finding that our participants were needing, easy, accessible exercise sessions. We actually have a morning stretch sessions that I've actually been told I think gets up to 700 people each session. And again, that's over Zoom. And our instructor, I think, has a cult following where people are religiously entering those sessions every week because they're finding it so helpful and stable for an exercise routine. But then we also cover technology, right? So within health and wellness, we have sessions ranging from sleep monitoring technology, how to find low prescription drugs online at a lower cost. And I actually have a success story. We actually had a participant who actually, because of one of the websites we mentioned, started saving $900 per pill on one of his medications. We also have sessions on again, exercise, so Tai Chi, as I mentioned, morning stretch, but then also sessions on meditation apps, apps that you can download to prevent anxiety, and heart monitoring apps, but then also telemedicine apps. So let's say you wanted to talk to your doctor over Zoom. How do you go about doing that? Let's say you want to communicate with your doctor on MyChart. What is MyChart? How do you go about doing that? And that's where we walk through all that in our Explore Tech lectures. Our Explore Tech lectures tend to be about an hour long. And I should mention right now, too, that our Explore Tech lectures are much more of a presentation where our instructor live will go over a PowerPoint presentation. But we also have Explore Tech workshops. And those workshops are about an hour long as well. We usually go about for 45 minutes in both the lectures and the workshops with about 15 minutes of question and answer. And our workshops are much more interactive. So I liken it to saying one of our Explore Tech lectures will walk through what is Facebook, what is a feed, you've heard about social media, what is all of it, right? How do you message someone on Facebook? Separately, then we have a workshop on creating a Facebook account. So within that 45 minutes, we will have an instructor walk through actually how to create an account. And that's where it's much more hands-on. And that's where for some of our workshops, we might have registration because we tend to keep those sessions a little bit smaller to make sure you get customized support in that session. So related to Facebook, social engagement is our second impact area. So how do you, let's say you want to keep in touch with loved ones, especially during the pandemic, we found this was very important. How do you host a Zoom session? How do you, connect with a loved one or follow someone on Instagram? We also do lunch and learn sessions where, let's say you have an iPad and you just want to log into a lunch in the middle of the day and have your lunch there while you're eating, and then you can just openly ask questions about how you use your iPad, and that will usually be about an hour-long session as well. But really, spaces are meant to create social engagement and social connections, but also impart wisdom about how to use social engagement tools to connect with others. Our third impact area is creative expression. So for example, that could be everything from how to use Canva, which is an online platform that allows you to create flyers, birthday invitations, all for free. We also had a session, we have a session called Virtual Museum Tours, which allows you to access websites where you can actually do a 3D tour. So especially during the pandemic, when it wasn't as safe to go out, you were able to connect and go to a museum and see all of their art. Our fourth impact area is financial security. So one of our most popular sessions is how to protect your personal information online. And that's everything from how do you make sure your password is strong? And so that's where we walk through, using lowercase, uppercase letters, making sure there's so many characters within your password. Also, 1Password systems where you can sign up for a system and they'll create a strong password for you. Our joke, though, is you then need to remember that 1Password to access all of your other passwords. And then, what are fraudulent emails? How to identify what are the red flags when you get an email? And it's things like you don't recognize the email address, or they don't put your name in the email, or you see a lot of typos. But then we also offer sessions on how to become an entrepreneur, how to use Venmo, how to use eBay, how to use Zelle. In fact, this picture where it says financial security was actually a fashion show that we did in our New York space, where we actually had about, I think, 7 or 8 older adult participants who had their own small businesses showcase and sell their jewelry, their clothes. We actually did an actual fashion show with a catwalk. And the Wall Street Journal actually wrote a story. And the poor small business websites, they all had huge volume of people coming in wanting to purchase their items. But again, really empowering our older adults to use technology to empower themselves to create a business, to have a second career if they're retired. And then the fifth impact area is civic participation. How do you contact your local official online? How do you follow an elected official on Twitter? All different ways to engage civically. One of our other popular sessions is how to combat misinformation. How do you identify misinformation online? How do you make sure you're not spreading misinformation online? And then the sixth impact area, I would say, is our basic technology. So everything from, we have 5-week and 10-week courses. Those tend to be a little bit more in person, but we offer these classes where they're twice a week, either Monday and Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday, because we've learned that it's really helpful to have a day in between for our participants to either practice what they've learned, digest what they've learned, and then come back to a class with questions. But that's where we have sessions on, the basics of your iPad, the different components. Where's your microphone? Where's the camera? How do you turn it on and off? How do you download an app? We have other sessions too related to how do you create a Gmail account, which is free, but we recognize whenever you have an Apple device, they're going to ask for an Apple ID, which is going to require an email. And so this is where too, if you're feeling a little bit nervous about any of that, I would say please call our national toll-free hotline. They'll be able to provide that support, in addition to being able to tell you what other program we might have out there that might be helpful. So in terms of our online offerings and support, we offer about 70 free virtual classes each week. So you can even go to seniorplanet.org right now, and you can see on this screen, this is our website. You can see we have our national toll-free hotline on here, and there's some links up at the top. And so you can see there's a link that there's a drop-down menu that says join us online. Sorry, the text is really small. But if you click on that link, it'll enable you to log into one of our sessions. Of course, if you're running into any difficulty finding a session, or you're just needing help navigating our website, this is where, again, you can call a toll-free hotline and they'll be able to provide support. We had 2 million website visitors, actually over 2 million last year to our Senior Planet website. And we do offer programming in Spanish, Mandarin, and Vietnamese. Our Vietnamese programming is currently on hold, but we're hoping to bring it back. We do offer a few sessions in Haitian Creole and Russian as well, but really for right now, a lot of our programming is in English, Spanish, and in Mandarin. And of course, you can also call our hotline in case you are interested in the other language programming and the timing of when we'll be able to provide that support again. We also have some really amazing articles on our website. It's everything from, I think, recently our editor for our seniorplanet.org articles got an exclusive interview with Annette Bening. I think Chong from Cheech and Chong, and just has a lot of information about aging healthfully, resources. Sometimes we'll also do an open thread where I ask our participants, what is the favorite book you've read recently? Do you have any tips for this, the spring? And this is where then you can read and even participate in posting your tips or information. And then, as I mentioned before, we do have one-on-one tech support and coaching. And again, you can register for that support on our website. There will be a drop-down menu where we do ask a few questions so that our staff can actually know what you're interested in learning, and that way they can prep for it. So for example, we had recently a participant that was interested in downloading Spotify, which is a music platform. And so this has allowed us and our team to research Spotify and then help them with all the ins and outs of downloading that app. But again, if let's say you don't have online access, or let's say you feel uncomfortable going online, this is where you can call our hotline, and they can either set up a one-on-one tech support system over the phone. They can also help walk through any support over the phone, or they can also then create a Zoom session for you. And again, all this information is at seniorplanet.org. As I mentioned before too, our Senior Planet licensing program, this is again, is if you have an older adult community center located close to you that isn't offering digital literacy skills programming, but you think they might be interested in providing that support, this is where they can contact us or visit our website and get further information. And we offer informational sessions twice a month. And amongst our license sites, this is where we currently have over 450 license sites across the country. We have 120 active centers, 35 states offering our programming in red. This means that we've provided support and training to over 500 instructors, and we've had over 36,000 participants that have learned from our programming through these partner sites. Really excited to talk about Senior Planet community as well. So during the pandemic, we were seeing that a lot of our participants were feeling very socially isolated. And this was even before the pandemic that we felt some of our older adults were having difficulty, meeting other people. They might be retired, so they're no longer seeing, their coworkers every day. And so this is where we created a Senior Planet community. We liken it to Facebook, where you can create an account. We do have a registration system because we are making sure that we want, everyone to be safe and making sure that everyone that registers is a real person. And this is where then you can connect with 12,000 other users. And once you create your account and once it's been approved, you'll be able to log in, and then you'll be able to see this platform where there are a bunch of different groups. And this is where I feel like it's a safe, risk-free environment where, let's say you're just looking for information on owning less, decluttering tips. This is where you can join that group, and you can either put comments in this thread, or you can see advice that people have offered as well. You can also leave a question. And a tip is that, let's say you don't feel comfortable talking, calling our hotline. I think there's actually a group that's free tech support, and you can actually put a question in that group. And we're hoping our staff hopefully will respond to you, hopefully within 24 hours if it's a business day, but offering tech support. Or you also have all the other members of the group providing tech support for you as well. And so that's a tip too, that you can join that group and see information and ask questions within that group. But there's groups related to gardening. And recipes, cooking. Let's say you're just looking for a quick meal and you have these certain ingredients, you can post that in the recipe, cooking, and foodies group, and you can get ideas and information back. But again, just a wonderful way to connect with people in a very safe environment, in a very risk-free environment. I should mention we actually went live with this program, and in one of our sessions, we had 2 participants. Both were in Rhode Island. They were logging into our sessions. They didn't know that they were only 3 miles apart. So they actually were able to meet up for coffee and have become close friends ever since. And they communicate, through Senior Planet community. It's ad-free. We don't ever we don't ever give out your information to any third-party vendors. We are a nonprofit, so we don't generate any revenue from any registrants either. As I mentioned, the Ask a Tech expert group is really helpful and wonderful resource. If you're interested in this resource, you can go to community.seniorplanet.org, and you can sign up for a free account, and you should then be able to get access to all of the different groups to communicate with others. We've also launched a new podcast called Aging Rewired. So if you go to seniorplanet.org/podcast, you can actually see all the different podcasts that we've created so far with really interesting speakers, topics that challenge our listeners to think differently about aging. We have episodes related to filmmaking at any age, ageist stereotypes in media, remarkable women over 50. And you might even have a question right now of what is a podcast? So this is where we do have an Explore Tech lecture that walks through what a podcast is, how to subscribe to a podcast, how to find podcasts that might be of interest to you. One of my favorite podcasts is the Conan O'Brien podcast because he's very funny. He just hosted the Oscars. And this is where then you can find content that is all free. And it's almost like a radio show where you can listen in, and it's almost like weekly that they're providing a new episode, or sometimes even more than that. But this is where we have our own podcast, and you can log in and get further information on our website there. And then if there's any takeaway from today, it's our Senior Planet toll-free hotline, which is 888-713-3733. 888-713-3495. Again, 888-713-3495. This is where you can call across the country. Our hours are meant for, the United States. So if you are in the Pacific time zone, our hours are 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And recently we've started Saturday hours from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. If I recognize we have some participants across the country, so we do have East Coast hours, which I think are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. On the weekdays. And know that when you call, you'll be able to talk to a live person. If not, it might mean that we're talking to so many people. Feel free to leave a voice message. And our goal is to give you a call back within 24 hours, especially if it's within our operating hours. Right now, we do have support in English and Spanish, and we have part-time support in Mandarin. So if you are Mandarin speaking or know someone that needs Mandarin speaking support, if they call and leave a voice message, we'll have our part-time staff that speak Mandarin give them a call back. But again, this is anything from, hey, I saw Senior Planet sessions coming up next week. I wanted to try, the morning stretch class, but I can't find it on your website. When is it? Can you give me the information to log in? Or it could be, hey, again, I'm on my iPhone. It's not working. Can you provide some support? We've even had people call in where they were needing to reset their Apple ID or reset their account information, and our hotline staff have actually called Apple and worked with the participant on the phone with Apple to reconfigure everything. And so just know again that our hope is to provide as much support as possible to you over the phone. And then again, too, if let's say you're needing further support, let's say again, it's a question about Spotify or how to download MyChart as an app, you can then set up a one-on-one tech support system with our staff at a later point too. And if there's any page from my presentation to please remember, it's this page where you can see that again, seniorplanet.org, which is where we have all of our virtual Zoom classes, articles for our older adult participants, videos and quizzes. I should also mention too that we have recorded tech tip videos. So let's say it's off hours, our toll-free hotline isn't, available, or let's say you just don't feel comfortable talking to someone. We do have a YouTube channel. And again, if you have questions about YouTube, we do have an Explore Tech lecture on YouTube on what is YouTube, how do you create a playlist on YouTube, how do you find videos that are most appropriate for your interests on YouTube. But within that, if you type in the search Senior Planet, you'll find our Senior Planet channel where we actually offer quite a few videos on some basic tips. We have some videos that are about a minute long, 3 minutes long, but we walk through things like how to create a Gmail account, how to create an Apple ID. I think that's one of them. And just meant to be a quick tip. And this way too, you're not in one of our sessions feeling pressure to retain all the information. You can watch this video as many times as you like. Our Senior Planet hotline, as I mentioned, again, with the hours listed here, sorry, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. If I misspoke, I said 8 a.m. I think 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time for the Senior Planet hotline, which is 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific time. And then oats.org. And so this is where I mentioned our umbrella organization where we do a lot of research. This is where you can see some of the client projects that we've, our partners. We've partnered with health clinics, libraries, older adult community centers, hospitals to provide our programming. In fact, I met with the Stanford Medical School in their hospital recently, where they actually started prescribing our programming to older adult patients that they were seeing that were feeling socially isolated. And then also you can find our licensing information and application if you know of an organization that might be interested in getting access to our programming. Again, all of that is free. And then, as I mentioned, Senior Planet Community. So our online platform that will allow you to log in to connect with other older adults that might have similar interests to you. And then the very last slide is just thank you so much for attending today. I know that I talked really quickly, so I wanted to make sure there's a lot of time for me to answer any questions. But know a couple things. One, you can always visit oats.org, seniorplanet.org. This is my direct email address, so RKAWAMOTO. So that's my first initial, Ryan, last name Kawamoto, at oats.org. So rkawamoto@oats.org. Feel free to email me, and this is where I can connect you with any of our programming, or if you have questions, or let's say you know of a community center that might be interested in programming, feel free to email me, and this is where I can connect you with the appropriate staff that can walk through any information. Or it could be, hey, I attended your session and I can't remember the toll-free hotline, or hey, you know, I have a question about what's the difference between an Explore Tech lecture, or I wanted to learn this. Feel free to email me and I can connect you with the appropriate staff as well. And of course, you can find us on Facebook. Well, it says Twitter, but it's really X, LinkedIn, Instagram, and then our YouTube channel. So at this point, I'm finishing a little bit early, but just wanting to open it up to questions. And just again, thank you so much. As you can tell, hopefully, I really love presenting about our programming, because for me, it's to say all of our programming is free. So if you log into a session, there's no risk, there's no cost to you. If it's great and you're just like, wow, this is wonderful, this is all the information I've been wanting but couldn't figure out how to access, great. But if you don't feel that it's working for you, no worries, right? Maybe at a later time, you might come across some technology with a question. You might then call our hotline or rejoin our programming. But again, we're just trying to provide comprehensive support to meet you where you're at in terms of your technology needs at a low, like no cost and very risk-free. So on that note, I'll stop there and open it up for questions.
Ryan, thank you so much for all the resources that you told us about, and free too. And I think it's good because people can, like you said, meet you where you're at in the privacy of their home. They don't have to feel intimidated about anything. So thank you so very much for this good presentation. Joyce, let's go over and find out what people are saying and asking.
They're just saying, thank you very much for the information.
Oh, great.
You have covered it quite well. We
thank
know
you.
how to reach you, which is good. I did have, there is a question coming in.
Right.
Are there any online seminars on how to try how on a stopwatch? Smartwatch. They're talking about smartwatches. Are there any on smartwatches?
That's a great question. Yeah, so we do have a session called Wearables. And so this is where we walk through different devices, you know, whether that be an Apple Watch or, Fitbit. And we actually walk through all the features to the heart monitoring, capabilities, right? Your ability to text message. If you find that you attend that session and they don't answer, a question that you have, they will always provide about 15 to 10 minutes at the end of the session for you to ask questions. So if you're finding that the presentation didn't cover what you need, make sure to ask your question at the end, and that's where our staff will be able to answer your question. On that note, we actually recently had a participant in our Mandarin programming who lives alone on the West Coast. All of his family is on the East Coast. After taking one of our sessions, he set up his Apple Watch. And unbeknownst to him, we couldn't have predicted this, but a couple weeks later, he wound up falling in his apartment. Because he had set up his Apple Watch, it immediately contacted his landlord and immediately contacted the paramedic. And he's now crediting our instructor for saving his life. And so this is where, wearables and really empowering our older adult participants to take advantage of all the different, benefits and programming. This is where I'm just wanting to mention, we just learned about that story a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, wow. That's good.
Yeah.
Now the questions are coming in.
Oh,
See?
great.
So the next question is, do you plan to have seminars on how AI and large language? Yeah, okay. Yes, if you can.
Great question. So we've actually just started to roll out 8 different sessions on artificial intelligence. It's become our most popular topic in terms of inquiries for our programming. It's become the most popular. And this is where it's everything from what is AI? And it might be shocking to hear that we're actually already using AI in a lot of the platforms, right? If you're log into a website and there's a chat bot where you can ask the chat questions, that sometimes might actually be artificial intelligence already. We also walk through how can you tell the difference between an AI generated image and a non-AI generated image. And I'll have to be honest in saying I still can't tell the difference, except for sometimes you'll see someone with 6 fingers, right? Because AI is still learning, right? In fact, I recently was doing some programming in Maui for ARP Hawaii, where I got to be a part of an in-person session about image generating. And in live time, we actually used an image generator. And being in Maui, we opened up to the audience to say, what do you guys want to see a picture of? And with Oprah being a local resident, they're actually like, hey, we want to see Oprah eating popcorn. So within 5 seconds of entering this prompt, we're able to get pictures of Oprah eating popcorn. Now, they were all fake. They were all generated, but I could click a button and within another 5 seconds, another image would be created. And the shock in the
Wow.
room was, this is fake and this is so quick, was really empowering to the participants to learn what AI is, and that sometimes you need to be careful, especially with fake information, but this can
Right.
also be empowering. Let's say, as I mentioned Canva earlier, which is this free platform to create a birthday invitation, you can actually use AI to generate a funny, fun picture. And you can type in, let's say Oprah eating popcorn is the theme of the party. You can then use that image generator to create a picture that then you can use for the flyer. So as with all technology, there are some risks, but there are also a lot of benefits. And so this is where too, when we talk about AI, we want to make sure that all of our participants are educated on the benefits in addition to the risk, and to empower how to use the technology safely. And this is too where we have a session where we walk through some things to work on to look out for with AI. There are now new scams related to AI where you might see that your emails, the scams that you're getting over email are a little bit more sophisticated because scammers are now using AI to clean up typos, to make it look like a business and using logos. And so there's a little bit more sophistication there where it used to be sometimes pretty clear in an email. I think there's the one from, hey, we have $1 million for you, right? And your name's misspelled, or you don't even have your name. Now it's a little bit more sophisticated where you might actually get an email with the FedEx logo and it actually looks like FedEx. How do you protect yourself with that more sophistication? This is where our sessions are really meant to walk through that. So again, you can go to our website. You can actually type, we have a search where you can type in AI or artificial intelligence. Some of those sessions will pop up. Or again, you can call our hotline and they'll be able to identify all the upcoming sessions related to AI. But great question.
Wow, that's a great answer. I love that one. Here's another one. Do you have any sessions on how to cast iPhones to your TV?
Great question. So we do, and I should say too that some of our sessions might be basic of just walking through some of the technology. We do have a session called Streaming and Smart Televisions. In fact, I'll say before the pandemic, we actually used to get a line around the block of participants logging into that session. When I first started as doing programming in California, we had an in-person location in Palo Alto. And we did a flyer for one of our sessions on smart televisions and streaming around the time of Halloween. And so the flyer was, hey, technology or Halloween scary, technology shouldn't be, right? And the whole idea of the session was to say, come into the session where we recognize that, let's say you want to purchase a television, but you don't know what an HDMI hookup is, or how do you know the resolution of a TV? What are all these things that you might feel pressure when you're in the store to know? Come to our session where we can walk through all the vocabulary so that when you're in the store, you feel empowered to ask questions, or you can ask the salesperson questions. Sometimes if there's time, we will walk through some of those components of how do you cast all that. But really, I would recommend that if that isn't covered, because that's not always covered based on time, feel free to ask that question during that session. Or you can also set up a tech tutoring session where we can walk through that with you directly, because we also recognize that your device, your television, the device that you're casting on might be specific to you, whether that be an Apple device, whether it be a PC, or your phone. This is where then we can provide that customized support. So if you're wanting a little bit more information about the smart televisions and that technology, please feel free to join the Explore Tech Lecture. But I might recommend actually calling our hotline or setting up a tech tutoring session where then they can provide the specific information you're needing for your specific devices.
Right, thank you. There's a question about how to use a digital wallet. Do you know anything about that one?
Yeah, so we actually have an Explore Tech Lecture on digital wallets, what it is, how to use, how to download your credit card. What are the safety protocols on it? Is it safer to use, your digital wallet? I've actually been told it is. A lot of the information's encrypted. I was actually just with some friends over the weekend where they were actually explaining to me that each transaction you make is specific, so it actually is harder for someone to hack your information. But that's a great question. And I would, suggest attending our, I think it's literally digital wallets. But again, if you call our hotline, they'll be able to pull up that session for you. But we do have a session on that. Yeah.
So then there's also the difference between an Android and an Apple. Do you have different classes on those?
Great question. Yeah. So this is where I'll say, because I'm in California, and I'll be honest in saying in Palo Alto, which was very close to Cupertino, the Apple headquarters, a lot of our users, our participants are on Apple devices, but we do have Android classes as well. How to use Google Chrome, devices, how to use Android operating system, how to use PCs. And so this is where when you sign up for a session, we try to make it clear whether or not it's for an iPad or for, an Android or non-Apple device. And so when you register or log into a session, it should be very clear in the title whether or not it's for Apple or not. Some of our sessions are device agnostic though. So for example, we have a session on what is cloud storage, right? That is, and technically that's a server where you can upload files to keep safely. That's device agnostic, right? So that will work for a Android user or an Apple user. So that's where in that session, you can just learn about cloud storage, what it is, all of that, where it won't be device specific. Now, of course, if you have a question about your device, you can always ask it during the question and answer session at the end of the session.
Hey, I don't see any other questions. Do you have anything that you may want to elaborate on before I give it back to Jacqueline?
Just that, again, please, I'm really here to provide any support. Our hotline is really, they've been trained to provide as much support as possible. We recognize too, in this day and age, there's not always a lot of resources and information on how to use technology. And I'll just say too, that when I was operating a lot of our programming in person, there was sometimes a lot of shame of a participant coming in to say, I don't know how to use my iPhone. And for me, it's to say there shouldn't be any shame. In fact, where is this information that you're supposed to learn about, right? Or how do you access learning your iPhone? It's not like it comes with an instruction manual when you get it. And so this is where we're trying to create that support within that void. One thing too that I realized I haven't mentioned, especially because we have national programming or national participants in the session, we do have a presence in Washington, D.C. area, in the Maryland area, and in San Antonio, Texas. And that's where we don't have a physical standalone center, but we have a network of partner sites. And we have staff there that are providing in-person programming. So just wanting to mention that as well. But I'll close there just to say thank you so much for your time. Please feel free to email me if there are any questions. Please feel free to call our hotline again if you have any questions. And again, I just welcome you to the Senior Planet world and hope that you enjoy our programming. Thanks, Joyce. Thanks, Jacqueline.
Okay. Thank you again, Ryan. That was amazing. That was really informative and good. We appreciate it. And I know they have, but if maybe we could drop the hotline number in the chat again real quickly as we close out, that would be helpful. So you guys, what are your takeaways? What did you learn perhaps or confirm for you today? Put it in the chat really, really quickly, just a couple, 2 or 3 things real quick. What did you learn from Ryan today? And while you're writing in the chat, if you're interested in rewatching this program or our previous programs, you can visit our Tea and Coffee Tuesdays webpage. This link has been put in the chat. So Joyce, anybody put any takeaways in?
So I'm so proud and thanking everybody that does free services, which is great. Everything is free, and there's Senior Planet tech support, which is great. The hotline is great, and the resources available to us for free. So those are some great takeaways.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Okay.
And thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you guys for sharing that. So our next Tea and Coffee Tuesdays meeting is Tuesday, April 8th, 2025 at 9 a.m. We will be meeting with Guillermo Sanchez, Manager, Preparedness and Resiliency with the Red Cross in this session. Guillermo will help prepare families for disasters by providing tips, tools, and training and promote community resiliency. And again, a big thank you to our guest, Ryan Kawamoto, our chat moderator, Joyce Howard, our tech specialists, Connie Moore and Sarita Cardoza, our AARP staff, and of course, all of you for joining us. Again, I'm Jacqueline Cole, your AARP volunteer host. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please take advantage of some of the information you learned today. And this concludes our program. Have a wonderful week.